Hello and welcome to July 9th, where we're reading 2 Chronicles 10 through 13. Now, today's reading is all about the divide of the kingdom. The United Kingdom turns into the divided kingdom, thus the name. It splits into Jeroboam and Rehoboam. Of course, Jeroboam's not really focused on at all. Our focus today, in Chronicles anyway, is going to be on Rehoboam and ultimately his son Abijah as well. The kingdom splits and Judah continues on its own. Since this book is written to primarily cover Judah and the line of David, we're not going to focus on Jeroboam or Israel very much at all. We're just going to focus super much on Rehoboam and all those things. So chapter 10 should be familiar to you. This is 1 Kings chapter, 12, I think, when Rehoboam and Jeroboam split. Rehoboam is given the choice to, lighten the load of the people of Israel, and he doesn't, and so Israel rebels against him and leaves and follows after somebody else. Of course, in chapter 11, Rehoboam ends up being the king in the south. He's the king of Judah, and he does some amount of good. In fact, a lot of the more religious people sneak their way back down to him. Most of the Levites go down to him. Jeroboam was doing things with the Levites that were not acceptable. He was making the priesthood full of anybody from any tribe, and that wasn't acceptable to the Levites, who were supposed to be the people of God. And so they went down to the south, and Rehoboam ends up having a good influence on them, or at least running a good country for them to be part of. That's part of the good that Rehoboam actually does. Of course, in chapter 12, you have Egypt invading Rehoboam, invading Judah, and generally Judah was pretty prideful. Thankfully, they humbled themselves, and so God saved them from that. And yet, Rehoboam himself is not really a good king. As much as he humbled himself in a couple of moments, he generally was not very faithful to God, and so that split ultimately ends up cursing him, and he really just never turns around. He's kind of a disappointment as the first king of Judah, but it's okay because his son Abijah is here now. When you get into chapter 13, Abijah is actually pretty decent. He is praying, he is somewhat faithful, he is, he's fairly okay. He seems to be faithful mostly, except not always, because sometimes he just does stuff that's against God. That's not really recorded here. He is much more so a faithful king here. I'm not really sure why. He doesn't do all that much good, but he does enough that it's noticeable, and so he ends up being credited with probably a lot more good than he actually objectively ended up doing. Abijah's kind of weird to me. I don't really understand him all that much, but there are a few thoughts on him, and there are more on the written page if you're interested in that. I guess I'll see you tomorrow, July 10th, where we're reading 2 Chronicles 14 through 17, and we see some of his children.